It's been nearly a month since the final season of The Boys aired, and to call it a disappointment would be a pretty big understatement. Many fans and detractors of the show have rightfully aired their grievances with season 5 in great detail, criticizing its terrible pacing, weak writing, lack of any real direction, continuity errors, and various other aspects. And while I hesitated on making a video covering the season, mainly because I was working on the latest Sopranos video and I didn't want to pull an Eric Kripke and take my main project while trying to develop my side one, there's been one particular nitpick with the show that's been buzzing around in my brain for the last few weeks like a mosquito that you just can't swat. So in the first episode of the season, we're taken on the set of Truth Bomb as we watch Firecracker set up her schedule backstage. During this exchange, she randomly name drops Elon Musk.
Move that Elon interview to Thursday.
You might think, oh, maybe she's referring to a different Elon. Really? Celebrity name drops aren't a new thing on the show, but season 5 in particular has some pretty egregious ones.
We arrested Chappell Roan and Tyler the Creator.
Oh my god. And then the Legend's whole character is just him naming a celebrity and then saying he had sex with them. Of course he gets to live. Okay, anyways, in the final episode of the show, we're introduced to a character named Gunter Van Ellis, a blatantly obvious, not even remotely subtle parody of Elon Musk. In fact, the show basically just spells out to the audience who they're making fun of.
World's richest man. 17 children. Amateur astronaut.
They specify that he's a tech billionaire, that he has many children. Homelander even takes him to space in the blink of an eye. It's pretty interesting that Homelander can do this without even thinking about it, but when he's fighting for his life, he's just taken down immediately. Twice. Okay, again, anyways, I bring up these two details because of the conundrum that it raises. We know for a fact that Gunter is supposed to be a carbon copy of Elon Musk, but if Elon Musk already exists in this universe, then what does that make Gunter? Are there two different versions of Tesla? Is there another version of the Cybertruck? Did they both do the Hitler salute? How? Did they both do it at the same time, or did Gunter do it after Elon? Or did Elon do it after Gunter? Both of their careers would have been fucked because he couldn't make the argument that it was an accident if they both did it. Why bother bringing up Elon if you're already going to have a parody version of him later on in the show? You can't just directly mention someone from real life and then have a parody version of him later because 1, it's lazy writing, and 2, this creates problems. Elon Musk currently has a net worth of roughly $850 billion. Assuming Gunter has the exact same amount, we're looking at around a $1.7 trillion combined net worth. This implies that both men see the same level of success running essentially the exact same company, but it's also implied that they're both running different versions of the same company, which does not make any sense. How can there be two Teslas that both make the exact same profits as each other? It'd be impossible to have two versions of the same company having the same level of success because everyone's just gonna stick with what they're familiar with. The only explanation as to why both men are wildly successful and rich is because they just both happen to run the exact same company at the exact same time and have the exact same beliefs and the exact same Joe Rogan experiences. But we already know for a fact that this is impossible, and we also know for a fact that one person couldn't have come after the other because one guy would have just run the other out of business. And some of you might be thinking, oh, well, in the show, they never specify that Gunter runs a company creating electric cars, just that he's a billionaire who does work in space. Where did he get that money from then? It's never specified in the show since he's supposed to be a stupid one-off parody side character, so I'm led to assume that he earned his riches the exact same way Elon did. They never clarify anything about this character besides the fact that he's exactly like Elon Musk, so I don't think it's that far of a reach to assume that he's exactly like Elon Musk. But the fact that he's exactly like Elon Musk just raises endless questions. Like, Elon Musk is currently the world's richest man, but then they say in the show that Gunter Van Ellis is the world's richest man. But Elon exists in this universe, so who? Did they both try to buy out Twitter? Would they have both renamed it to X? Are they competitors when it comes to space exploration, or do they work together? And most importantly, do they both LARP as expert video gamers? You guys might be thinking that I'm going way too in-depth about a 30-second parody that wasn't particularly biting or funny to begin with, but there were so many little issues with this season in particular on top of the already big issues that they become impossible to ignore. Now, I don't want to seem like some CinemaSins type of guy where I'm just actively looking for any minor contrivance to attack the show with, because I think it's totally fine to not have every single little bit of continuity down pat in your show. Even shows like Better Call Saul have minor issues if you got the eyes to see them. But when it gets to the point that you're actively ignoring dialogue from a previous episode in the same season, in a show backed by the biggest corporation on planet Earth, and a very popular show at that, you gotta start asking questions about what we're doing here. At times, it feels like the writers didn't even really give a shit. Like, listen to this joke from Frenchie in the second episode this season.
Rock hard is a living mountain. Hasn't been seen since his unspeakable acts at the Lincoln Memorial, no? Oh, he scolded fucked Lincoln in the ear, filled it with so much hot cum it burst out of his mouth.
See, that could have been funny if he just stopped at the unspeakable acts line, but then he goes, wait, come, penis, ho, 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 because the writers gave up showing any restraint this season. And you might be thinking, oh, they're not showing restraint now? Did you see Herogasm? Well, the thing is, you can have a TV show that's extremely graphic while also being well written. The Sopranos is one of the dirtiest TV shows out there, and yet it's also one of the best TV shows out there because of its great writing, characters, story, acting, and more. You can be dirty while also being clever. Obviously, The Boys having a bunch of over-the-top gore and language and weird moments and zero subtlety and all that is kind of what they're going for, but I think this season is where it really starts to become unbearable and terribly written, and at points is used as jingling keys for the audience instead of being utilized to write a good episode. Isn't it great that the video of Maeve and Homelander abandoning Flight 37 just gets brushed under the rug after being used as an important plot point in the past few seasons? This is yet another reason why AI taking over the world is terrible, because the writers now have the perfect excuse to ditch this video as a way to save room for developing the prequel series for 5 episodes. Remember when Maeve used this video as blackmail to prevent Homelander from killing Butcher? Well, now that moment is zero weight in retrospect because the video never comes into play in the story ever again. You can't give us a Chekhov's gun and then not shoot it. Or rather, shoot it, but then not do anything with it and then pretend like the gunshot was AI generated. Sister Sage fucking sucks as a character. I absolutely hate the way that she walks around boasting about how smart she is and acting like there's more to her character than she's letting on, and then fucks up in the actual unironic worst way possible because she couldn't predict love. You can make the argument that this was totally intentional and that the writers were trying to subvert our expectations, but like, there's never any indication beforehand that she's wrong in some way. It's not like her fucking up and letting Homelander get the V1 is some big twist that nobody was expecting, or that there was some subtle foreshadowing implying that she was wrong. She was just wrong. There's no depth to any of this. She goes on these big speeches about how her plan is finally falling into place and that everyone is merely a pawn in her game of 4D chess. But then when Soldier Boy gives Homelander the V1 because it's what Clara would have wanted, she's like, whoopsie doodles, guess I was wrong, I'm going to Florida. And then she's never punished for teaming up with Homelander in the first place. This is great writing.
Are you serious right now?
Hit it. Hard. Best defense against psychics. Weed numbs your brain so they can't reach you.
Why are you telling her this? Annie has done nothing but rip her geek bar since episode 1 this season. Obviously, she knows that weed numbs her brain. That's why she's smoking. She should have told MM to smoke. Ashley does fucking nothing this season, which especially sucks because I think Colby Minifie does a spectacular job playing this character. One of the most underrated performances in the show. She has this back and forth conflict with herself and Bashley, her new sidekick she got after taking the V last season, as she debates whether or not she should stop Homelander from going crazy and fucking everything up. This could have been a really interesting plot point, but it essentially just boils down to nothing except Ashley helping the boys get into the Oval Office, which wasn't really much of a problem to begin with, by the way, because the boys made it inside the White House anyway with absolutely no struggle. They just pull up in a fucking van and they go, all right, boys, let's go get them. Despite the fact that they are some of the most wanted criminals in the entire country. You're telling me that in the same universe where people are being put in concentration camps for so much as criticizing Homelander, that the White House only has like 2 guards on standby in case of intruders? What a cheap payoff to her character. Why set up Kimiko with this emotional final moment in the last episode if you're gonna make her talk like a has-been hotel character the entire season? Like, oh, you want me to take her seriously now? After you assassinated her character and turned her into a fucking joke? Are you kidding me? What a cheap payoff to her character. Why is Butcher not in jail after murdering one of the most beloved people in the country on live television in front of probably hundreds of millions of people? In the White House. And how the fuck did he get to the top of Vought headquarters? Would they not be working overtime to protect the place after one of the most famous soups just got murdered? How the hell did everyone escape from Homelander after he took the V1? How do you just run away from an immortal psychopath superhero? And why is it that the first thing that Homelander does after becoming immortal is map out a fucking theme park? Why would the show even bother promising us this ginormous superhero war spectacle if they're not even gonna pay it off in a satisfying way? Why would the marketing promise us this ginormous superhero war spectacle if they're not even gonna pay it off in a satisfying way? What's the point of Homelander telling Annie that he could bring forth the apocalypse if he's never gonna bring forth the apocalypse? What's the point of having any of these characters on screen if you're gonna neglect all of them in favor of setting up a spinoff that nobody is going to watch? Oh my god. Where did it all go so wrong?